welcome to an episode of ES Repair. I'm your host, Mr. Fix-It. In this video, I'm going to show you some simple steps that you can take to help maintain the cooling efficiency of your computer. It's very important that your computer has plenty of ventilation and adequate airflow because of the heat that it generates. You'll also see, when you take this computer apart, that you'll notice that there are fans inside. Usually you'll have one for the case, you'll have one for the power supply, which you probably see it on the back, and I'll demonstrate that. And you'll see one that's on your processor. You'll also notice, if you have a graphics card installed, a fan on it as well. So you'll notice there are quite a few fans that's in the computer, each which maintains the cooling efficiency of the components. The heat, if it's not released and expelled as quickly as possible, heat will tend to build up and cause components in the computer to start to fail. And it can lead to more money to get your computer refixed. All you're going to need is a can of air. You can find these in computer stores, electronic stores. Walmart sells them. Radio Shack sells them. Any place that deals with electronics, you should be able to find one of these cans of air sprays, and they're very simple to use. Now, when you do this, be sure that you get the kind that's designed for computers and electronics. These do not build up static electricity, which is harmful for your computer. Some extra tools that you'll probably need is a screwdriver, in this case a Phillips, and you may need a small Phillips screwdriver when dealing with a processor, and I'll show you this later in the video. So let's get started. Now, as you can see here, I've got this computer taken apart. Actually, I just got the side cover off, and the first thing you'll need to do is remove the screws that you'll see up here in the top corner. There's one on both sides, and you got the top and the bottom. Now these can be like these here, they're little thumb screws, or they're Phillips screws. This case here is my computer that I've used in videos before that you may remember. The only difference is the power supply. The old power supply went out in it, and I had to replace it. Now, as I said, you'll see that there are fans in it, like this one. This one here is a case fan, and some computers will have at least one of these in the back and maybe one in the front. As you can see, there's a spot to put one. And as you can see, you can find all the dust that's in this computer. It's been about 3 months or more since I've last cleaned the computer here. And if you look over here, you'll notice there's a bunch of them. And it's true what they say, dust bunnies do multiply. And you'll see that this computer here it's fairly dirty. Now, I do have pictures I'll show you later in this video and show you how bad the computer I worked on before was really clogged up with dust. Now, here's the processor. And it's not hard to mistake it because you can see it's got such a huge heat sink on it, and there's a fan on this. Now, the fan here can be speed controlled by the motherboard. The more heat your processor generates, the louder the motor is. Now, you'll probably notice this if your computer seems very loud. And it's probably because of this fan. Notice in there how all the dust is in there and stuff. Well, it's starting to plug up the vents and restricting the airflow. So what we're going to do is take my air can and spray out the fan and the fans to get the dust out. Now here is the graphics card that I was talking about. If you have an integrated version, you won't have to worry about the fan on those because those do not have any. Now, this one here, as you can see, does have a fan on it. And I will have to remove it. And these are fairly simple to remove. But you have to use extreme caution. Most cases, you can just blow it out if it's not too bad. If the computer is pretty bad and a lot of dust bunnies in it, like the picture I'm going to show you later, then it's a good idea to remove the card to clean the fan. Now, as you can see up here, that's the fan in the power supply that may need some cleaning. It's newer than the computer, so it may not need a lot of cleaning right now. Now, on some of them, as you can see here, you'll see the fan that's back here to where you can blow it out. Now, if it's a real bad case of dust bunnies inside that you can see, then I'll show you how to take some of these power supplies apart so you can clean them out. Because you don't want a power supply failure in your computer. These things can cost about $60 or more. So let me get my air can and let's get started. Now, you'll notice I got my air can here, and it's got a red cap on top. All you have to do is just pop off the cap, like so. And you'll notice now you can get it to spray some air. Now, the thing you need to be careful with is not to shake it when you're spraying, because what happens is when you're shaking, you'll notice that liquid comes out, and you don't want that in your computer because it can damage the motherboard or your hard drive or some other electronic component. So you want to be sure not to shake it while you're spraying it. And of course, you're going to have one of these little straws that you can insert it. Make sure it's nice and tight in there. And that way, this will allow you to get down to the crooks and crannies of these heat sinks and the fans and get some of that dust out. So, let's begin. Now, the first thing you want to do is just, take it to the side. Make sure there's no liquid or anything in it before you start spraying. And see, you can see all the dust. Now, you may want to also wear a dust mask over your mouth and nose. And that way, if you're allergic to dust and stuff, it won't irritate your sinuses and stuff. Yeah, see what I mean? You get all kinds of dust. But I don't have my mask on because if I did, you wouldn't be able to hear what I'm saying. But this is basically all you're doing. Just get down the crooks and crannies and get all that dust and dirt and everything else out of it. Put my straw back in there. Now you'll notice that my heatsink is a lot cleaner now. This will help improve airflow off of the heat from the CPU. Now, they don't make these to where they'll stay in place. So it does get to be a little drag trying to, if it pops out, you hit something and it pops out, then you have to put it right back in there. Now, you'll notice that the can will make some noise, and that's just a liquid that's inside is turning from liquid to gas. You'll notice I got some dust back in there and stuff. Now, one of the things that you'll notice about these air cans is they get very, very cold. And the best thing to do is to run them under warm water, or, well, I run them under hot water. And let me go show you what I do. Now, one of the things that you can do, because you'll notice that these cans do get very, very cold, and you'll also notice that the air starts to slow down. So what I do is, you can go to the bathroom or the sink, turn on the hot water, let it run. Now, as the hot water comes in, just take your can and just, set it under the water. Let it sit there for a few minutes. You'll notice that the can starts to become hot. You don't want to leave it under hot water for too long because it can cause the can to explode, and you don't want that to happen. But place your fingers on the end, like I have there on the bottom there, and put it on both ends. And when it starts to get hot, then the can is ready. And what this does is it increases pressure in the can. And allows you to get more air out of the can because of the temperature differential. Okay, it should be good enough. Can's starting to get hot. Now you can dry the can off and listen to what it does. See, it's fast enough. It popped off the straw. So, anytime the can starts to get cold, just run it under some hot water and problem solved. Now that I got my can warmed back up, I can continue spraying. You want to get down the crooks and crannies. Now remember, you don't want to shake this while you're spraying it because the liquid can come out of it, and you don't want that on the motherboard. Or anything else for that matter. Now you can also get in the back and get all that stuff off. Again, they don't make them straws or they'll stay in there. Now, if I can find the straw. Oh, there's one. I'll use that one. Maybe it'll stay in better. But that's the problem with some of these. They don't stay in there very good. There are times I thought about putting glue in there. Maybe that'll keep it in there. Now, unless it's really, really bad, then you won't have to take the computer completely apart. But in the case that you do, I'll show you what you need to do and how to do it. But as you can see, it looks a lot better now. You don't see a whole lot of dust in here no more. There's the CPU. And as you can see, it looks a lot better now. There we go. Looks a lot better now. You don't see all that dirt and stuff. Now, the graphics card, if you can get to it, you may not have to remove it. And just, there we go. You can get down to where the heat sinks and stuff at. You may not have to take it apart. But that's basically all that needs to be done to your computer. And again, if it's not that bad, you could probably do it maybe once a month. It depends on the area that the computer is stored, how often it's run. This computer here is my main computer. It runs 24/7 when I'm home, and it runs everything in the house. So you can see, it's fairly dirty. I clean these once a month, every other month. Again, it depends on the severity of the dust that's in the house, where these computers are located. Now, let me show you a computer that I worked on a couple of weeks ago and show you the severity of the dust in there. Now, as you can see here, this PC was very dirty. Everything from the bottom, if you can see it to the right, behind the hard drive, you can see the vents. You can see how plugged up them were. The processor, you can see how badly plugged it was. This computer here wasn't cleaned at all. I believe they've had it for at least 5 years. And most people don't realize how important it is to clean these PCs, and it's very simple, as I've showed you. Here you can see a close-up where the power supply on the top, you see how plugged up it was. Down there towards the bottom, you can see the side view of the heat sink for the CPU, and this is very important. And they were saying that the computer was real loud and all that, and this is why. It could not remove the heat, and the fan was spinning so fast that it was constantly loud. But this is the importance of keeping your insides of the PC clean. Now, some of the other things that you can do, and this helps with connecting stuff to your computer. You can take your air can, and blow out the connectors from your USB, your Ethernet, all stuff like that. That if you plug and unplug, then dust will get in there, and just give it a tap. You don't need a whole lot, but just enough to you can get the dust and stuff out. This will help get better connections. Things like that. Now, another thing you can use, like a vacuum cleaner, one of those little small vacuum cleaners that you see for like the keyboards and stuff. This is great to clean your keyboards out, clean your mouse out. They have quite a few uses and stuff. And that's basically all there is to do it. If your computer ain't as bad as like this one wasn't, then this is basically all you have to do to clean it. Well, let me show you what else you could do, like the one in the picture, as to what you can do to get that cleaned. Now, if the fans are, very, very bad, or the processor, like this one here, if it comes to the point where it's very, very bad, then you may have to take the fans apart or remove from the casing, like these here. They got these screws, which you can remove them from the back side and clean it. Now, with this, the processors are slightly different. You may notice that there's a screw back there where I got my finger pointing. There's screws on all corners of the processor fan. Now, remember, you got these screws over here. Don't remove those. Those are what mounts the heatsink to the processor. You don't want to move these screws. You want to move the ones that's got the fan attached, where I'm pointing at now. Now, you may notice that you'll see like these little clips. Some processors have these mounting clips for the fan on all four corners. You may just have to use a little flat screwdriver to pop out the fan. This one here in particular just screws in. And then let me show you how to clean these fans. All you're going to need is a old toothbrush. Now here I have one of the fans out of the computer, and you can see it's pretty dusty. You get some of them that's worse than this, and you can just take your air can, get what you can off of it, and a lot of the stuff that you can't get off, it's pretty stuck on there. All you're going to need is just an old toothbrush. Now it don't have to be anything fancy, just a little scrubbing brush or toothbrush, something that you can get down into the in between the propellers. You probably, for the smaller fans, like the CPU fan, you'll probably need a smaller brush to get in between the blades. And all you have to do, just go in there. There's no soap and water with this, and just brush off the dust. And that's all there is to it. This will also help your fan last longer because it's not having all this extra weight for it to spin around on. And they'll last a little longer. But that's all there is to cleaning these fans. Now, if you need to take the power supply apart, you'll need to remove the screws that's on the back side of the computer. There's one here, there's four, there's one here, and then one here. That's the four screws that you need to remove. This will take it out of the computer. Plus, you need to remember to take all your cables apart, unhook it, being careful. And most power supplies will have four screws. You got the one here, which I've already got the screw out. You got another one here, one here. Sometimes they're on the top. You got two on the top, and then flip it over. You got two on the bottom. I mean, it just depends. And what you're going to do is just remove the cover. Is all you're going to do. Don't touch anything on the inside. Then you just take the cover off. And there you go. It's basically what's inside these power supplies. Now this in here don't show much, but this in here is fairly clean. I haven't used it that much. And plus I also keep these fairly clean because you can see the heat sinks. They're very important to these power supplies. But then again, if you have to take it apart, just remove the cover screws and being sure not to shake it. can blow all the dust out of the power supply, and this will help improve the airflow through it to keep your PC up and running. Now once you're done, you can put your case back on, the cover, put your screws back in, now here's an example from another computer about taking these video graphic cards out so you can clean the fans. This one here is fairly simple. This is a particular AGP. Now the AGPs and the PCI Express slots have latches on them, which you may not be able to see it, but it's this little piece right over here on the end. A little white piece that you see next to that heat sink. And it works kind of the same way as the memory modules do on the AGPs. The PCI Express may either have a little latch that you just press down to release the card, or you just have a slider, and I'll show you what it does. And you just have to slide it to unlock the card. Now, the first thing you'll need to do is remove the screw that's holding the case, and this will release the card from its position, like so. And I got the latch to release this card is on the bottom, which you may be able to see it. There you go. You may see it move right there. It helps eject the card. Get the screw all the way out. And then the card can slide right out. Now you don't want to touch anything on the board. Just, hold the edges. Here you'll see the fan. This ain't the original fan that went on it. I had to improvise when the old fan went out. But it still has the heat sinks, which can still get dirty. And all you have to do, again, is just get your air can and blow the... This one here wasn't too bad, but I wanted to use it to just give you an idea of how to do this. And that's basically all there is. Now, the latch that I was referring to, you'll see it right here. Like I said, it works just like your memory modules. This also locks the card into place. Now, you'll find these on the AGPs and the PCI Express slots. The PCI Express slots will either have a slider, or it'll have a similar function like this, and that's just to lock the card into place like you do the memory modules. Now once you're done, you can just insert the card back into its slot, being careful that you line everything up properly, touching only the edges of the card. And once everything's lined up, then you slide it back into the slot. Now, when you slide it back into its slot, the latch that's over here will automatically go into place. Some of them you may have to slide the locking mechanism back into place. And let me take this out and I'll show you why. There's a latch that you'll see right here. There's a hook, and that's what they latch to. So when you put it back in, line it all up, and gently press it in there. Your locking mechanisms will go back. If it has a slider, be sure you put the slider back into place. And then you just put your screw back into your video card where it was at. Make sure it's in its proper position. And then tighten the screw back up. And that's all there is to it. If you have to remove the graphics card, if it doesn't have a card in there, then it's a built-in graphics processor, which they don't have heat sinks. But this is a separate card. You can get the PCI Express AGPs like this one, or the regular PCIs, the older versions. And if it has a fan on them, then you can just kind of blow out the heat sinks and make sure that, you get all the dust and stuff out. Then this way your graphics card will last longer too. Well, this concludes this video on cleaning your PC. Now, you can do the same thing to laptops. You have the exhaust vent, and you have the hole where the fan is. It takes in the air. You can blow that out, but do your keyboards, things like that. Now, if it's really bad in your laptop, then you need to have a technician, such as myself, or someone local to your area to take the laptop apart to clean it out. But this is basically all you have to do to keep your PC clean. Well, be sure that when you're using the air can, not to shake it. Keep it upright. If it gets cold, you can run it under hot water. Don't put it in boiling water because it will cause the can to explode. Well, I'm your host, Mr. Fix-It. Thank you for watching.